Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Joe Buskens. This is our family's boat shop. My father built back in the 1960s. We've built hundreds of boats and done thousands of repair jobs. We also built a big 29-foot hybrid bay there in the background here in this shop. And we've got an exciting episode this afternoon. I am very, very excited. Our previous episode, we did an epoxy compatibility test, and I kind of just did a little just kind of off the cuff test there, mixed some different gel coats and resins and epoxy with gel coat and talked about compatibility. That seems to be a hot topic out here in the boating community. A lot of people want to use epoxy for their repair, but they want to use gel coat as a finish coat versus a paint system. And there's pros and cons to using epoxy, and there's pros to using a gel coat. And typically my stand, and not just my stand, but a lot of people in the industry and that work with boats and that have been around boats and even chemical companies that sell these products, is pretty much like you got to be super careful when you're using gel coat over epoxy, or a lot of folks will just say, don't do it. And in our previous episode, I talked about having a material that I'm super excited about that is designed to tie the two together. It's like a tie coat. It's designed to work over your epoxy repair, and you can put gel coat over it. And today we are going to be applying some of it, and then I'm going to be doing some testing on it. So what we've got is a sample piece right here. Now what I did, this has been done with some peel ply. This is West Systems. It's a very popular epoxy system, and we did this yesterday. Be sure it had plenty of time to cure. You can see that the peel ply leaves a really nice texture on there. It's almost more texture than if you were sanding this. Now if you don't have any peel ply, of course you could use, that's some 80 grit on a block, or you could use a DA sander, and you could actually come in here and aggressively scratch that and put some surface on it. But quite honestly, that surface that the peel ply is giving this material is plenty good for bonding this new material. Now the material's coming from a company, you guys haven't seen me use anything from System 3 yet, and I'll tell you, they're a really good company. I've got a history with them, and you've used some product from them before. Matter of fact, if y'all swing over here, you may have seen some of these little skiffs in the background. A few years ago, I built a whole series of plywood and epoxy, like stitch and glue style skiffs, and used a lot of System 3 products. But this is a fairly new one for me. This one is designed, pretty exciting. It is formulated to accept gel coats with ease. Now this material is also used a lot of times like in the surfboard building world, where you're going over a foam and you want a really high quality, nice clear epoxy. And it can also even be used for musical instruments if you're making like guitars or banjos or all kind of stuff. Now that's outside of the realm of what we typically do, but this accepting gel coat with ease, and it is very hard to find a product that is actually epoxy based, which is what this is, but it's designed to work with gel coat. So we are going to be mixing up a little bit of this, a fairly small batch. It is a 2-to-1, so basically you're going to have 2 parts of your resin to 1 part of your activator or hardener. Now again, a lot of controversy and comments on my previous episode when I pretty much am like, compatibility with gel coat can be iffy and I don't generally recommend it. At the very end of the video, and a lot of folks may have missed that, I did talk about there are some circumstances where occasionally you can make it work. I tend to prefer a 2-to-1 epoxy versus like a 4 or 5-to-1 if you're going to try to make gel coat stick. They produce less amine blush or no amine blush, and that's one thing I think this material has in its advantage. It is a 2-to-1, and it cures blush free. You're not going to have any kind of blush on this surface, which is definitely a pro for sure. So I'm going to get a little bit of PPE, and what we've got, I actually applied some gel coat over some of this material 2 days ago and given it a thorough cure, and we got a really nice result on the gel coat. The gel coat is cured hard and it looks right. And we're actually going to be doing some testing. I'm going to be trying to flake this stuff and sanding. We're also going to try prying some material off of there. But first, I thought I would just show or demonstrate how nicely this material works. Now we don't need a whole lot of material, so I'm going to be using a tiny little cup here, and we're just going to go with 1 ounce. I believe we are there. Yep, maybe just a smidge over. And we'll go a little on the plus. So if we were doing 1 ounce of resin, we would take this to 1.5 total. It's coming up nice and easy. It is very important with epoxies to be accurate in your mix, in your ratios. You can have a real problem with cure if you don't mix it accurately. Now we are using Fiberglass Warehouse gel coat for our test material. I've been super happy with their products, and that's kind of our baseline gel coat that we use. Now generally about 30 seconds of mix time is going to be adequate. And when I was working with this day before yesterday, it was fairly, I would say it's like a medium catalyst or a medium cure. It moved along pretty quickly. You've got about 25 minutes of work time before it gels. And the hotter it is, the faster it's going to cure. The cooler it is, the longer you've got. Of course, some PPE, always wearing some gloves, some eye protection. We got a fan moving some air in the shop. A respirator is not a bad idea at all though, and typically when we are doing actual big repair jobs and stuff, we are wearing respirators and all that protective equipment. Now is a good time to remind you folks, if you're enjoying the content that we're putting out there, please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Like, share, comment. I try my best to read every comment and even respond to as many as I can. Sometimes life is busy and hectic and I may not be able to get to everybody, but I do try really hard to read every comment, and I want to thank you for your support of the channel. And also, as a personal favor, we would love to grow the channel more. Any other platforms that you folks might have access to that could get a broader reach and reach some folks, share with your boating community or your fishing community, would be greatly appreciated. All right, so we should be good there. Now I was mixing that kind of in a hurry. A lot of times you may want to mix a little slower to reduce the amount of air bubbles that may be introduced, but this is just for demonstration purposes, so y'all keep that in mind. I'm sure I'll get a comment or two there on how fast you mix. All right, now we are just going straight to, now obviously I did sand a little bit there, but we're going straight to the peel ply epoxy material, and that is a very popular brand epoxy y'all have seen me use on a number of other videos. Get a fairly thick coat on there. That may be a little more than I need, but I want plenty of build. The thicker it is, the faster it'll cure too, and I want to try to move this along. And for our regular viewers and folks that have been requesting, I will be doing a video with some peel ply application. Maybe it'll come out after this one. High likelihood of that. There's an application for peel ply. We don't use it a ton, but I've got enough requests for it that I think I'll do it for you folks. And you saw how easily it came off of there. I think that's the first time I've used any on the channel, and it does a nice job in a lot of applications. You can see here how pretty that epoxy lays out. I mean, it is first class. We were pretty close there on about 1.5 ounces for that size panel. So what we're gonna do, normally you would need on a minimum 16 hours of cure time before you would sand it and apply your gel coat. But what we're gonna do, we're probably gonna accelerate that a little bit for demonstration purposes this afternoon. And then we're gonna jump right over to doing some testing. But we'll let this cure a bit, scuff it up, put some gel coat, and then go to testing this stuff, see how she does. So here we go, folks. Check out what a nice finish we got. This material, this is our sample piece. We put a couple coats of gel coat on there, and I bonded this bolt on, and we're gonna kind of test edge strength and bonding strength. But this material is just finished out beautifully. Now, I may have mentioned this before in a video, but the primary purpose of the SB112 is really kind of more of like a surfboard type material, or you could use it with musical instruments, but it is a 2-to-1 amine blush free epoxy, so you don't get any of that amine blush, which is really, really nice. I've got a couple ounces of gel coat sitting off here to the side, and what we're going to do is do a little bit of sanding here, folks. I'm going to put some PPE on. We're going to knock the scuff off of that surface. All right, here we go. Right, very nice. Of course, you could use just a little 3M block as well. Y'all seen me use that in the past, just to get some good bite. Put some good surface on there. Now you could probably even get a little more aggressive with that, but this is just kind of for demo purposes on this one. You want a good scratch on there, or a good etch or surface. And we've got some white gel coat. This is without wax from our friends there at Fiberglass Warehouse, and we're going with about 2 ounces of material. So we're gonna take about 25 drops or so. All right, that was probably 25 and a couple. Generally, again, as a rule of thumb, folks, with gel coat, about 10 to 12 drops per ounce, or about 10 to 12 cc's per quart, or 32 ounces is a good baseline for you folks working at home. Your DIY projects, I do enjoy hearing about the different projects you folks are working on. A lot of our videos, I would encourage, I know our videos can be long in nature. I do occasionally get comments sometimes where if you watched a little further into the video, it may answer your question. And in our previous video, we were actually talking about gel coat and fiberglass compatibility. And there are a lot of folks that if epoxy cures for a very, very long duration of time, say 7 to 10 days, and then you scratch it or grind it very aggressively, there are instances where for a more of a cosmetic application, you can get gel coat to stick. but a lot of companies still don't recommend it for structural application. So that's why I'm excited about this product. If you look here on their box, it says formulated to accept gel coats with ease. This is one of the only products that I have found or ever seen that it actually says, yes, this sticks to epoxy and then gel coat will stick to it. And I'm excited about it because then I can give you folks some good info that's going to work for you at home, and you don't have to guess or wonder if it's going to be okay. Right. Very good. This is not the best brush in the world, and we're just going with one coat on there. Probably got a little more than we need. Generally on the first coat, I don't like to go crazy heavy, and if you were doing this at home, you would not have wax in the first coat. You would only have wax in the last coat. Now generally too, if you were brushing this on the first coat, we would run the strokes lengthwise, and then we did the second application, you may want to come back and do it across, and that way you'll get a nice level application. So we do have a few little bits of material, it looks like, in there. Sometimes as gel coat gets old, you'll get some little tidbits. I also get questions about sanding. Even gel coat that does not have wax in it, you can take a little block with some 80 grit, and if you were going to apply a second coat, sometimes I'll come back in there and just lightly surface that. It will gum up your paper a bit, but at least you can get a second application and not have those lumps and bumps in your material. So what we did yesterday, or day before rather, is we used some of the fiberglass warehouse, some of the structural putty, to bond this bolt head right at the edge, and I figured that's going to allow us to put some pretty serious leverage on there and see if we can get the gel coat. As of right now, it is not. Let me put a little more. Well, it broke the bolt away from the bedding material. I was thinking if this was a weak bond, that would have pulled loose. Well, let me just take the good old razor knife. It's bringing fibers up with it when it comes up. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's bonding quite well. It's pulling fibers up on the surface, which I like to see. That means it's grabbing on. Let me try a little bit of sanding there, folks, and just see what kind of an edge we can get. A lot of times if a material will sand to a nice feathered edge, you know there's a good bond. So, you can see that is feathered in there quite nice. Like I said, it's taking up, it appears to be taking up the surface of the gel coat. So I'm pretty pretty pleased with that. Now what I want to do is some longer term tests with this stuff. I'm going to keep these sample pieces of materials around the shop. I'm going to let this coat of Gelcoat dry on that one, and maybe even down the road I'll do some long-term testing, and maybe you guys have some suggestions on different ways that we can test the materials and put a load on it and pry on it. And I will be using it in some personal projects too, so that you guys can have confidence in it. And all the materials that we're using in the videos should be linked in descriptions below, and anytime you guys purchase through those links, that does help support the channel. So I hope you folks enjoyed that one. And we also are going to be working on our 21-foot Project Blazer boat very soon. We're waiting for a little bit cooler weather before we start that project, and I had wanted some of these material samples. And our hardtop is sitting there complete. But quite honestly, folks, we're near the end of our charter season, and as we approach the fall season, I don't really need a canopy as much. And the prices I got to build the aluminum hardtop and the welding equipment were very expensive. So right now we're just kind of holding on that till something changes. So it's Captain Joe here with Island Marine Charters, Fish Bump TV on YouTube. My son as my amazing cameraman working hard behind the scenes. And we will catch you folks in the next episode.